Top 10 things we wish we knew before moving into an RV full time. All right, we are going to give you our top 10 list. Number 1, the black tank. It is not easy to maintain our black tank. We've had several clogs. We've even tried to refrain putting number 2s in there when possible and putting our toilet paper in a trash can and emptying that separate. And we still had a clog a few days ago that we had to deal with.
And we overflowed it once.
We
did.
We overflowed it. We have poop water everywhere.
Because I was talking on the phone.
He was distracted while doing his job. Luckily that overflow was after we drained the tank and we were refilling to flush it again, so it wasn't like the really nasty stuff, but it was still gross. We've had to forage in the woods for poop sticks, as I call it, poking devices to move stuff around. So that's not fun. Trying to figure out the best way to manage that without it being a stinky disaster. So that's number 1 on the list.
Or number 2.
Oh! Number 2, playgrounds. Every time there's a playground at a campsite, the children just want to run to the playground, which is great, except when we can't see it from our campsite and we need to set up or clean up or work or do something, we can't always sit at the playground to watch them. So from now on, when we make reservations somewhere, we will put it in the request or call them and say we would like to be right next to the playground, so it can be in our backyard. Number 3, shoes. There are shoes everywhere in our home. We pared down our shoes. We don't have that many, but there's 4 of us, and we each have 3 at least pairs of shoes. Some of us might have 4 or 5. The Ron's shoes are gigantic, and they don't really fit in the shoe rack we bought, we bought a shoe bench. They don't really fit in the shoe bench. And there's this little nook where we can put shoes when we walk in the door, and his shoes stick out like 4 or 5 inches. Number 4, the bouncing trailer. Every time someone walks through the trailer, walks into it, a kid gets off of her bunk bed, the thing is bouncing. And it's also squeaking. So...
Not for why you think.
It's bouncing because when Ron steps onto the step, which is hovering above the ground, the whole thing does this. Or the dog shakes. The whole thing bounces.
And the X-Chocks didn't really help either. Yeah,
he bought X-Chocks to help that. And not only are they kind of a pain to put on, it still bounced. So that was silly. We don't even use those. We just carry those around with us. We'll talk about that later.
Is that number 5?
No, it should be. All right, number 5. Cramped cooking. We knew that there was a small kitchen when we signed up for our adventure. I knew the size of the counter space, but I didn't really fully grasp the smallness and the lack of space until you really start trying to cook in there or even prepare a lunch. So we bought a little butcher block island to help with that. But one of my issues is the sink. It's a huge single basin sink, which for most people is a great idea. But in the trailer, when you don't have a dishwasher, it would be more helpful to have one smaller sink or even the separated sink, so I could wash and put clean dishes in one, rinse in one, or something better than one huge single basin hole that doesn't have a countertop piece on it. It's also difficult to cook in the kitchen because it takes so long to do anything. You have 3 burners that are exactly the same size. We use the same 2 pans for just about everything, and everything just takes forever, and there's just not enough room. The oven is burning everything, and we've looked for pizza stones because people say that'll help spread out the heat. Nobody makes a pizza stone that's like 12 by 12 or 13 by 13 to fit in our oven. or that we found. Number 6, it's so messy. Maybe we're so messy, but you can't just put your stuff down on the table and leave it there. There is no room in the trailer for you to leave stuff out. So we have to keep up with ourselves, with the kids, every moment.
I think we have too much junk still.
But it could be that. It could be we have too much junk, and it could be like when we come in with our camera and we just set it down, and then I have to move it in order to cook, you know, and we put the Instapot out and then we leave that out, and now I have nowhere to put, you know, anything. There's no room to be messy.
We could buy a fifth wheel.
We're not going to get into that right now. Number 7, outlets. There's several issues with outlets in the travel trailer. The first one is there's not enough outlets. We have a lot of things to plug in. We have a lot of things to charge. We have several laptops and a desktop and phones and GoPro and a drone. Lots of things to charge. 7 outlets in the whole place. And we fill them all. Not only are there not enough outlets, they are not placed properly. We would like them in the slide where we sit with our computers and our things that we're going to use. There is none on the right side of the slide. There's one on the left side by the pantry. I have to use an outlet from my bedroom next to my nightstand to boil water. We have an extension cord that goes from my outlet next to my bed out so we can use more things in the kitchen. Another outlet in the kitchen would really help. The last thing with the outlets is that they don't run on battery. If we are not plugged in to power, we cannot use any outlets or anything that requires an outlet.
Which is crazy because we have an inverter from the factory, but the only thing it runs is the refrigerator and then the normal 12-volt stuff.
We would like to be able to dry camp sometimes and still use the CPAP machine without running the generator overnight. So just one outlet.
And we need to be able to work.
We need to be able to work. So we have computers that need to be charged, and we're working on the road.
And the kids need a blessed nightlight.
Oh my God, they need a nightlight. Or hysteria will occur. Number 8, bumpy roads. I don't know if you can tell in this video, but we're driving on a road that's not ideal. It's a pretty good highway.
It's not too bad.
It's not terrible, but there are lots of bumps in the road. Doing the amount of driving that we are doing will take us on some roads and all these bumpy roads are causing a lot of destruction in our house that we are pulling. So when we arrive somewhere and we open the door, not only do we have to set up camp and put the slide out, we have to clean up. I mean, there's chairs pushed everywhere, the desk fell down, the shoes are everywhere. Our cabinet doors, even though they lock closed, they will open. The pantry, it will open. Coconut oil will fall out and melt onto the floor. We knew we would have to kind of fix things and secure things, but the extent of it is kind of more than we expected.
We get to figure out what the screw goes to, though.
Oh yeah, that's fun when you go in there and find a screw on the floor and you don't know where it fell out. I mean, like 10 of them so far. Just random screws. Most of them have come from the window treatments that are screwed in. They're screwed into like nothing, so they just rip right out. Number 9, stuff we don't use. There are a lot of things that we brought with us that we don't use. And we got rid of a ridiculous amount of things before we moved into our travel trailer. But there are still things we don't use, such as brand new bicycles. Brand new bicycles that we bought for all of us, and that Ron has built several different bike racks. We have not ridden our bikes. Ron wants to get rid of them now, but we paid several $100s for these bikes, and I just can't bring myself to part with them. We've had to purge the trailer already 3 times since being on the road for 6 weeks, and there are still toys that the kids just have to have that they really don't play with. They'd rather go to the playground or the pool or play in the dirt with sticks and rocks. I could not part with my art supplies. I told myself before we left on this trip that I would paint a lot. I wanted to paint a picture in every national park we were at.
You painted for the rally.
I face painted at the rally. I painted things to sell at the rally, which nobody bought. But my art has kind of turned into the video editing and not so much of the fine art that I thought I would be doing. But I'm still carrying it around. Number 10, data usage.
We use a lot more than we thought we would. We went over our first full billing month on the road.
Yeah.
We made it to the last day.
And then went over. We have a jetpack, but we failed to turn it on all the time in the car, and I think because we spend so much time in the car and I'm using my phone and Ron's using his GPS the entire time we're driving, it used a lot of data.
So we have 6 gig shared between our phones. That's not enough. But we have an unlimited plan also. So hopefully we can use that more and stop going over.
Yeah. All right, bonus number 11. Lock the fridge. Don't forget to lock the fridge. When you're going down the bumpy roads, as we spoke of earlier, your refrigerator door will swing open and your stuff will fall out. Don't forget to lock the fridge every time you drive.
So if you guys have any tips for us, if you could leave them in the comments, or if there's any lists of your own that you learned getting on the road, we'd appreciate any advice.
Thank you for watching our top 10 things we wish we knew before full-time living in an RV. We appreciate if you could like our videos and share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.
The steam engine works on a simple principle, and steam
You wanna say we're in the train
occupies more
museum?
space in the water.
We're at the train museum!
We're going back the exact same way we just were.
Why? We're going
This
to the
keeps me awake.
to this